Welcome to WARF Essential Topics. I'm Eric Iverson, CEO of the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, otherwise known as WARF. In this video, titled Disclosing Your Idea to WARF, you'll meet one of our intellectual property directors, Beth Fischer. Beth will discuss why and when you should consider disclosing your ideas to WARF. She'll also cover various forms of intellectual property, including patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. Finally, she'll provide important information you can consider as you prepare to disclose your idea to our intellectual property team. Thank you for joining Disclosing Your Idea to WARF. Here's Beth Fischer.
Hi, I'm Beth Fischer, the Director of Life Science Intellectual Property at WARF. And today I'm going to talk to you about disclosing ideas and innovations to WARF. Now, I just want to start out by saying, I get it. I get it. As a researcher on campus, you're busy, you've got meetings, you've got grant submissions due, you've got publications you're preparing. If you're a faculty member, you have committee meetings, faculty meetings, a student, teaching, classes. I get it. You're super busy. Research is your priority. It should be your priority. And I love that it's your priority because I love hearing about all the cool science on campus. And that's what I want to talk to you today about. Is what I'd like for you to do is, as you're doing your cool research, that aha moment that comes across your desk where it's like, whoa, this data is amazing. Or this could really change the way this whole research area works. Or I've spent a year trying to overcome this problem in the lab, and now I have a tool that enables this research to happen, and I know other researchers are going to be interested in it. That's the time I want you to think, I should go talk to WARF. And today we're going to talk about why you want to do that, kind of a little bit of when is a good time to talk to WARF. And just know that I'm a scientist and I really do want to hear from you, so feel free to reach out. And I think when I think about working at WARF, I think one thing we really try to be good at is to be the partner UW researchers and Morgridge Institute researchers can use to realize the Wisconsin idea. We hear a lot about the Wisconsin idea, the idea that UW-Madison research should benefit not just the people in the state of Wisconsin, but the country and the world. And being someone from Wisconsin, I grew up in the northern part of the state, I went to my undergraduate degree on the eastern part of the state, and I went to graduate school down here in Madison in biochemistry. I fully believe in the Wisconsin idea. And I want to help you translate your academic research into something that achieves that Wisconsin idea, just like these researchers. So this is just a handful of examples. When we think about the Wisconsin idea, it can kind of be a little amorphous and a little abstract. And here's some real examples of UW-Madison researchers whose research changed the world. So we'll start off with Harry Steenbach. Professor Harry Steenbach, in 1925, developed a method to enrich food with vitamin D through UV irradiation. And prior to this method, rickets was a worldwide health problem. Once this method was developed, once it was patented through WARF and licensed to commercial partners, food enriched with vitamin D nearly eliminated rickets as a world health problem. So again, UW research here making a difference in the world. The next one I want to mention is Carl Paul Link, Professor Link. What a fantastic Wisconsin story this is. A true Wisconsin story where a farmer in the state comes into UW-Madison with a problem, a real world problem. His cattle were dying and he didn't know why. And here he works with a professor at UW-Madison. And they figure out not just the cause of what is killing this farmer's cattle, but that technology ends up being translated into warfarin, which is still a commonly used rodenticide, and also translated into Coumadin, which is still one of the most prescribed blood thinners in the country and the world. Again, UW-Madison research, real-world application. A farmer comes in and it translates into something that changes the world. Another one I want to mention is Denise Ney. She's a professor in nutritional science who spent her career trying to help kids with nutritional disorders. And so there is a genetic disorder where some kids cannot process certain amino acids and proteins. And her research, working in collaboration with a food science professor, identified a protein that's low in these troublesome amino acids. And working together with a company, she created a whole line of food that these kids now can consume. So they get the nutritional benefit of eating a healthy diet, and they also can still control their disease. That's UW-Madison research making a real world difference. And you can notice on this slide that I have left one little line available to you. So I want to hear your innovations. I want to hear what you're working on, the research you're focused on, and I want to work with you to figure out how we can achieve that Wisconsin idea and have your UW-Madison research change the world. So you may say, okay, well, I appreciate that. I work with basic research and I publish all the time and I present at conferences. And so I'm getting my research out there. And if a company wants it, they can just find it and they'll take it. And honestly, with some technologies, that may happen. I'm happy that academic researchers are focused on sharing their research with other academic scientists. That builds that whole research engine. It improves innovation and the quality of the science that goes on. It's fantastic. And companies do look for that. They look at the journals. They look for opportunities where they can take that UW-Madison research and translate it into products and put it in their catalog. So for sure, that does happen. However, there are some other technologies, a lot of different types of technologies, where significant development dollars are going to have to be spent by a company. We're talking hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of dollars to translate that amazing academic research into something that's a commercializable product. In those instances, those commercial entities are looking for opportunities to have some market exclusivity. So they have sort of the area in the market where they can play because they've spent all this money developing a product. They want to be the exclusive source of commercializing that product for a certain period of time. That's what patents can achieve, and that's what we at WARF are here to help you with, is to figure out if there are aspects of your science, those cool ideas, that amazing data that can be converted into a patentable invention. There are also instances where a technology is early enough that the big companies, the existing companies, look at it and they're like, well, this is pretty amazing, but it's still pretty risky for us. We're just not sure we can take the chance to invest that money, in which case it may be a great opportunity for a startup company formation. In order for a startup company to get the funding they need from investment firms, you're going to need a strong intellectual property portfolio. You're going to need strong patents. You're going to need valuable assets. Those are considered assets by the investors, and they're looking for that strength and the value of those assets in order to make that investment. So again, some technologies, publishing on it, companies will pick it up, and that's great. Other technologies, you're going to need some form of intellectual property in order to incentivize a commercial partner to partner with you to take it into the marketplace and change the world. And again, we're here to help. Other reasons to disclose. There is an obligation under federal funding for the UW-Madison administration to notify every federal funding agency of inventions made under federal grants. So if you have federal money in your lab, you disclose your invention to WARF. We share all of the inventions disclosed to us with the UW-Madison administration, and those federal funding agencies are notified of the inventions being made. And this becomes really important. We all understand there's a lot of pressure for federal funding agencies to show to the taxpayers that the taxpayers are getting a bang for their buck. They're getting that economic development. They're getting that amazing technology, that innovation is happening. And patents are a great way for the federal funding agencies to show that the money taxpayers are trusting for them to invest in research is resulting in amazing innovations that can get out there and help not just this country, but the world. You also have to factor in, if a company reads your journal article and they decide to incorporate your research into their product line, they're going to receive revenue. And you will not be receiving revenue. The UW-Madison will not be receiving revenue. So the company is enjoying the financial benefits of your research, and it's not being shared amongst the university and the creators of that innovation. At WARF, if we have success licensing your intellectual property, we share that licensing revenue, not just with you, the innovator, the creator, not just with the departments that you're in, but also as part of our annual gift to the university. So your cool science, your amazing research then goes to help fund new faculty startup packages, endowed professorships, training grants for students and postdocs, building projects. There are lots of different initiatives that are funded through WARF money that comes in from licensing revenue from your cool science. And the last one I just wanted to touch on is one that I don't think a lot of people think about, but we've all seen the numbers. There aren't enough faculty positions for all of the graduate students and postdocs who are currently working in an academic research environment. They're looking for alternative careers outside of the academic bench. And a lot of these graduate students and postdocs want to work in industry. They're looking for industry opportunities. And I've had direct experience with graduate students and postdocs I've worked with coming back to me and telling me that being able to speak about their experiences around disclosing innovations, around filing patent applications, that whole process was a great educational opportunity for them, and it gave them something special to talk to industry with when they went and looked for jobs in industry. So it's an educational opportunity for graduate students and postdocs to engage with us, learn a certain type of science, science and business, science and patent, and it really is a valuable skill set that I think is really special. So just something else to consider as you're thinking, oh, why should I disclose to WARF? Again, there's an opportunity there for educational purposes too. So now you're ready to talk to us. You now know why we're going to disclose to WARF. The next question is when. When do you talk to us? And the really short and easy answer is you can never talk to us too early. You can never talk to us too much. So I'm a science geek. Love science since I was in 7th grade. I love reading about science, learning about science. Best part of my job is to talk to scientists about their research and learn about all the cool science that's going on. WARF is full of science geeks, so we love to hear about science. And I'd encourage you to talk to us about it. Don't ever feel that you're bothering us or that it's a burden and maybe it's too early to waste WARF's time. You're not wasting our time. I want the opportunity to talk to you and learn about science. One thing I will say is that in the least, I would ask you to talk to us before you publicly disclose your invention. And I'm going to ask you to do that because public disclosure of an invention, public disclosure of your research, can negatively impact our ability to get a patent. So if you publicly disclose your research before we file a patent, we've lost rights throughout most of the world, so we cannot achieve a patent, we cannot obtain a patent in the rest of the world. In the United States, we get a 1-year grace period. So if you publicly disclose your invention before you talk to us, you go to a meeting and you're just busy prepping for the meeting, making sure your flights are there, making sure your luggage arrives. We've all been there, right? And you give a talk and a company comes up after your talk and says, "This is amazing. How do I learn more?" And you think, "Oh, I should have talked to WARF before I did that." It's not too late. Come back into Madison, set up a meeting with us, reach out to me and let me know what's going on. We still have a year to file in the US. Now, if you publicly disclose your invention and we didn't file a patent within that year grace period, we won't be able to secure a patent on your invention. And if anyone else has publicly disclosed the invention, we know you've got competitors. They may get out there first, get their publication first. We're not going to be able to patent the research there either. So again, please talk to us before you publicly disclose. I've spent a lot of time talking about patents, and the majority of what WARF works on is securing patents around patentable inventions, but we do manage some other forms of intellectual property. So there are really 3 main forms of intellectual property we could talk about, and I just wanted to let you know how public disclosure can impact them. I'm going to start at the bottom of my list with trade secret because, as the name implies, if you don't keep it secret, it has no value. So if you publicly disclose a trade secret, there is no trade secret for us to possibly protect and commercialize. And honestly, we know academic researchers talk about their research all the time. So there's very little work we do in the trade secret intellectual property bucket. It's going to be disclosed, it's going to be shared with the world, and it's great, and we just don't worry about that form of intellectual property very often. The other 2 forms I'll mention just briefly are copyrights and trademarks. And the good news is public disclosure does not impact either copyright or trademark. So again, come to us. We're going to talk to you about these different forms, how we could bundle them together to make a really attractive package to get a commercial entity interested in partnering you and get that research from campus out to the market. So one other thing that people ask me about is how much data do I need before I come and talk to you? Are ideas patentable? And really, to have a patentable invention, you have to have an idea, you have to have conception of the invention. There's also a requirement for you to do what's called reduce it to practice. So you either have to be able to explain to somebody how to make your invention, how to use your invention, or you have to have data showing that your invention can be made or can be used in the way we think that it's going to work. And so there are 2 forms of reduction to practice. If you work in the physical sciences, congratulations. You can possibly do mathematical modeling. You don't have to build and test a prototype. If you can draw your prototype out and explain how it's going to be used, that's enough. That's constructive reduction to practice. That would be enough to satisfy that need with the patent office to have not just an idea, but show that it does work or explain how it will work. If you work in biology and chemistry, I'm sorry to say those are unpredictable arts with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, so we're going to need some data. And the good news is a patent is not a peer-reviewed journal article, so the amount of data you need, it doesn't have to be manuscript quality. It has to be some really initial proof of concept just to give us an idea that, yeah, I think this invention is going to work the way we think it's going to work. We'll include that in the patent application. And then, again, more data we get, the more support we have for a patent. It could be that we can broaden our coverage in the patent. It could be that we have a stronger patent. We'll need some data. Don't be a filter and say, oh, I don't know if I've got enough data or not. Come talk to us. We'll talk to you about what you've done and what you plan on doing and where we see some needs and where it'd be great if what we need to see from a patent standpoint aligns with what your scientific interests are. Those are the best things forward for us because, again, you'll get that data for us. We'll be able to really strengthen the patent application. So the ideal timing to talk to us. Again, there's no bad timing. The ideal timing is before a public disclosure. If you did publicly disclose, it's okay. We do have some time in the US to still pursue patents. Once you have a little bit of data, it doesn't have to be manuscript worthy, little proof of concept data, for sure you can talk to us. Again, sitting in your lab, you're seeing the research data come in and you're going, whoa, this is cool. Shoot me an email. That's a great time for us to talk about what you've done, where the research is going. And I can give you some insights into what I'm thinking about from a patent standpoint, and our licensing staff can also give you some insights in what companies would be interested in seeing too. Before you start to work with a company, speaking of companies, so there are many opportunities for UW-Madison researchers because the science here is so strong to collaborate and work with companies. And what I always tell the researchers I work with, before you start working directly with a company, you can have the conversations, but before you start working on a sponsored research collaboration with a company, it's a great time to disclose your invention to WARF. What that does, it gets us what the technology is before the company gets involved. And that way, as you're working with the company, whatever comes out of that collaboration, we know sort of what the company had some input and impact on, but we also know what you had before the company got involved. And it's a nice way for us to talk to the company about next steps. And I will just, again, reiterate, I know I've said it a lot, but always feel free to talk to us. We love to talk science, so reach out. I'd love to hear from you. So what does that mean, reaching out? Well, again, you don't have to go through any formal process. If you do get to a point where we are going to do the formal process, there is an innovation report form. It's a web-based form we ask you to fill out. Basic idea of what the invention is and who contributed to it, things like that. If you've got a manuscript, attach it to the form. It's a great way for us to get a nice background on what's going on. We'll set up an hour-long-ish meeting with you, the innovators, licensing staff, IP staff member, and we'll discuss just exactly what was on that form. What do you have? How far along is it? What data do you have? What are your future plans? How is it funded? Are there collaborators from outside of UW-Madison? So those are some of the things we're going to talk about during our disclosure meeting. It can be virtual. It can be in person. We're happy to have you meet at WARF. We're happy to go out onto campus and meet with you as well. So whatever's most convenient for you, we're there. Just let us know. What should you bring to this disclosure meeting? Again, there's no wrong answer here. It can be as informal as you want it to be. I have researchers, I sit down and have a free-flowing conversation about the technology, what they think the commercial applications are. We'll go through some of the questions I've got. I have researchers who bring maybe 2 or 3 graphs or tables of data, and we just sort of walk through that data. Gives me an idea, again, what we've got to support the patent filing and where the research is going. I have some researchers who really like to use this opportunity to have their graduate student or postdoc do a formal presentation. We're not necessarily the typical audience, even though we are scientists here at WARF. We're not experts in all of the fields, as much as I might want to be. I am not an expert in every field of science that goes on at UW-Madison campus. So it's an opportunity for your graduate students and postdocs to present their science, to present their work in a way that a non-expert needs to understand it. You'll be able to handle questions. I'm coming at it from a different avenue of a research scientist. I'm looking at what are the commercial applications. I may have some questions really tied directly to what the patent office will give back to us in issues. So again, a nice educational opportunity. Some researchers use that. No wrong answer. It can be formal, it can be informal. Whatever you would like us to do, we're happy to do it. And with that, I am happy to talk to you. So reach out with any questions you've got. I love to hear about science, as I might have mentioned maybe 100 times during this little talk, but I'd love to hear from you. I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm looking forward to hearing about more of the cool science that goes on at UW-Madison. And I really want to help you realize that Wisconsin idea. So come talk to us. Thanks.